Well, in an age where data is the new gold, organizations and even nations are leveraging data analytics in driving development, policy making, and overall service delivery. Well, joining us this morning to discuss data analytics in economic and national development is Babayemi Afolabi Wasiu. He's a professor at Time Series Econometrics, KB State University of Science and Technology, KB State. Good morning, Professor, and thank you for joining us this morning on the show. Good morning, Professor. Can you hear me clearly?
We are on. We are on. Where's the prompt? Where's it from? We have signed it.
No, we are on.
We're going to be discussing data analytics in economic and national development, especially in an era where data is considered the new gold. Governments, organizations use data analysis and analytics to drive development and overall service delivery. We have Professor Babayemi Afolabi Wasiu, Professor Time Series Econometrics, KB State University of Science and Technology, Alero, KB State. Good morning, Professor. Can you hear us clearly?
Good morning. I'm happy to be here. Pleasure is mine.
Great. Professor, let's just get into the subject matter. What exactly is data? Because I believe so many people have so many, ideas of what data is. But from a professional like you, could you define data? Is it statistics? Is it numbers? Or just mere inference from statistics? What is data?
Thank you very much. I think data is originated from the word datum. The plural of datum is data. And what is datum? Datum is just a raw fact. A raw fact. By the time you have many of such, it becomes data. For instance, I can ask you, what is your name? The response you are going to give can be a raw data. Can be a raw data. Can be a raw data. Are you getting me? So in this case, if by the time you want to look at a record of a student or the performance of a student, there are some set of data that is required. For instance, look at the report. Let us go down to the fact that if you look at the report, the school report card that your child will bring from school, you will see each of the subject will be recorded on a sheet, row and column. You see each of the cells you see in that row is a datum. By the time you look at the performance in English, mathematics, agricultural science, for that single row, you now discover that you have gotten a record. Now, this is it. Processed data tends to turn to information. By the time you have many of them in row-wise, then each of that row becomes what? Record. In that case. So you cannot see that a processed data tends to be information, and they said information is power. Are you with me?
Economic and national development. Nigeria has a lot of policies that, for lack of a better word, we could say that have not been implemented, or policies that have not really thrived. Do you think it is probably because most of our policies are not data driven? What are your thoughts on that?
At this stage in time, we cannot say Nigeria has not tried in the area of harnessing data. For instance, look at CBN. CBNs of 10 years back, it's not the CBN we used to know now. We have the previous experience before. They have moved from that age and they are nesting a lot of information to make sure or to package their policies. It has been well data driven as compared to the years. Look at MBS. But the thing is that this thing will take time because our attitude as Nigerians to absorb that data analysis or data discipline is yet to be fully earnest. But if you look at some special organization like CBN, National Bureau of Statistics, you can't compare what they are doing now with what they are what they were when they are in FOS. You see that they have really harnessed some of the things we are talking about, the data driven. Go to their site, you will see a lot of data that you will have been taught that maybe this thing will not happen in Nigeria. So many indicators that we think it's not possible to harness in Nigeria. They are there now. And the important now, how do we use it to formulate policy? The result of that policy, how will it work? If a policy does not work, that means we have not used the right data. In this age, you know very well that there's no way we try to use data, I will try to talk about data analytics, we will not talk about AI intelligence. How best have we used it in that direction is what makes it work. Area of agriculture that we tend to neglect, and other nations are doing well in that area. We discover that our data analytic process is well earnest. We can do that too, to project yield of crops, yield of so many things on farmland. And the projection will go a long way to help us. And it will not be saying that what you plan for is what you reap. If you don't have the future tends to be obscured. Now look at the area of agriculture. Area of agriculture is look at the area of finance. If all these data are well nested, you will discover that you want to measure, or you want to track inflation, you want to track the GDP, the standard, the wealth, or the status of wealth of the nation. It can easily be tracked and you can easily be monitored. If we harness our data properly, the room of saying it's a packaged data, the window dress it, will go into extinction, because most of the weapons we have now, like the AI, the machine learning that will train from the data we have, will not let that one happen. Most of the data now will speak for themselves, and we'll be able to have a better economy. Look at the area of health, for instance. Health. The other time in the history of Nigeria, when we heard about COVID, before we stabilize, we are moving up and there. You are making use of some projections that are not realizable. But thank God, as time goes on, we know the importance. But all this can be done easily with AI now. With AI machine learning that will learn from the data. Sorry, AI machine learning is just a subset of AI. You know, most of this AI, they make use of intelligence, human intelligence. That is like the reasoning of human beings, solving problem and what have you. Your ability to be able to do that, the ability of those data to be able to do that is what we are looking for. And by the time you get them harnessed, you will discover that all these things of you have outbreak of disease and you cannot trap it as soon as possible will be thing of the past.
All right, Professor, you kept reiterating being able to harness and leverage on AI as the way forward even in agriculture, health, and other sectors. But from your experience, how would you advise governments and organizations? How would you advise they go about leveraging and harnessing, the AI and data analytics? Since you say we are not where we should be as yet.
Yes. Thank you very much. You discover that in other nations, in other nations of the world, there is this skill at acquisition for their young age group. I think the first thing is that we have a lot of programs. Thank God for the new for this current Minister of Communication and Technology. I think they have been doing well in that area. But it's only that the attitude of Nigerians towards all these things, if they had it, try to learn and see the positive things that will come out of this thing. That skill application in data analytics, in AI, for instance, we need it to harness all these things. And how do we do that? You do that using private sectors, using the universities. University of Nigerians are not too bad. The image, forget about the image of Nigeria. We still up to now, we still have good hands, good professors in all these areas that if they were well trained and used, we get a maximum support as regards to that. And then private organizations, something that we do alone. We have been seeing some of them, like what I've said, like MTN and some other. You see them; they are throwing out program in Nigerian way. And even though you discover that most of these things are possibly politicized, but then it's still a right step in the right direction by doing that. But by the time we harness all these areas together, university, private sectors, and we get to where we are going. And I'm happy now. Nigeria is not that Nigeria is novice. I will not agree with anybody that is trying to tell me that Nigeria is out of it. But you discover that at least going to the 50%, we are going to be there. We are encouraging 50%. And I believe all will be well.
All right, Professor, between the government and the private sector, which do you think needs AI, data analytics more, in service delivery? Of the two, which would you think is most in need of, imbibing data analytics into its day-to-day runnings and, of course, in policy making? Would it be the government or would it be the private sector? What are your thoughts?
Both. Everybody needs AI. Everybody needs to be put into position. Everybody needs to be trained toward all these new innovations to help the technology. Imagine if your private sector is doing well and your government is doing well, what do you expect? All this nature of the world that are great, like US, UK, Canada, what have you, that are better than Nigeria, you discover that they don't joke. Whether it is private or government, you do the work, you implement the right decision. All these things, mind you, they help us with informed decision. From what? An evidence proving policy. That if we use it both in the private sector and the government sector, I think that giant of Africa, of Nigeria, they are saying will come to play, and we will see that. I don't want to see it as if it's only government or it's only private. All of us, individuals, including individuals, we need to change the direction. We need to work. Look at India, for instance. It does not happen overnight. You see their private sector, even though the level of poverty is still there, but it's not that of them. You see them in the area of technology, information technology. What a primary school student will be doing in India, for you to compare it to what you get in Nigerian space, it will be somehow incomparable. So the best answer to that is that everybody needs what? Data analytics.
All right, I hear you, Prof, but there has to be some downsides to, uh, data analytics and AI. You know, wouldn't government or organizations be prone to hacking or online cyber crimes? What are some of these downsides to analytics, and how can it be curbed?
There are no good things that don't have its own challenges. I believe that. But it's more advantageous to be on the good side of data analytic process or position. Look at cyber detection. There is a lot of models as regard to cyber detection to detect fraud that Nigeria is known for, even within or outside. They have been giving all the statistics, but we don't know how far it's true. But all I know is that Nigerians, they have the brightest brain all over the world. But there are a lot of models in cyber detection. We have time series cyber detection. We have machine learning, so many models that have been proven right now for data detection. Currently, we are working on one research as regard to cyber crime detection and what have you. And what we have been able to gather is the fact that most of this data, if you are so prudent and you follow the ethics of data, it will be very, very hard. It will be very, very hard for somebody to just break into your domain and cut away what you have done for a very long time. So
Interesting. Okay, Professor, I hear you. You did mention that Nigeria has one of the brightest brains, and I wouldn't dispute that with you. However, why has it been a problem, or why has it been so challenging to have, well, some sort of a Silicon Valley in Nigeria, to power some of this AI and data analytics projects and activities you talked about? If we have the brains, which I know we do, what are the challenges? Why haven't we moved on ahead beyond from where we are today in data analysis?
Attitude. Our attitude towards it, I've told you, it's not that we are perfect. It's not that we have reached that stage of perfection. What I'm saying is that average Nigerian is not a novice when it comes to AI technology and what have you. We hardly see somebody that we will see without phone, for instance. And these are the sources where we gather what information, data that we use along. The attitude of Nigeria to accept new change that is becoming something that is worrisome. If you remember, I said we are not there yet, but then we are encroaching 50%, as I've told you. Some of the problem is the fact that, for instance, you and I know that our economy now is not smiling, or living condition of an average Nigerians. Talk about food, and we said, okay, the best way to have food is to harness data in agriculture. Harness data in agriculture. Let us have more yield. If you have more yield, how many people are ready to be in that position? How many people are ready to support that implementation of new ideas? That we should move away from that traditional way of farming, and let us all embrace that technology behind farming, so that we have more food. When we have more food, and there are a lot of programs, and even at that, we discovered that there are a lot of programs in agriculture that are going around now, that we will see, that I now discovered that even agriculture is is a way of making money now. You see technology behind all these things, and by the time they introduce all this technology of AI, you see what we get as a result of yield and what have you. But you see, most of the challenges, the ability to adopt that new change is what we are clamoring for. And some of us, we get this information right away, but have you your ability to be able to react to information as soon as you get it is key in this direction. So I'm saying, I don't want to put the blame directly at the doorstep of the government. Our government is not doing the right thing, everything is that. But you discover that even when we get the information, an average Nigeria will be reluctant to react as towards, let us go and hear about this big opportunity. For instance, look at this I think within this year, or last year, when the government, I don't know the actual time, that this export team, agricultural export, the memorandum that the government of Nigeria signed with the Saudi Arabia. We discovered that most of us, we had the information, and we have known that there is an agency as regard to export your food agricultural product, that okay, there is a treaty or whatever between Nigeria and Saudi Arabia. You see, the percentage of those people that have taken that decision to enhance or to take advantage of such is still meager. Go and check their website. You see what I'm saying as regard to particular this policy and what have you. Most of the policies that are done from what? From data analytics. If the data you collected is not good, you don't expect something to be good. But if you enhance it well and you have the quality data, then definitely you are going to have a good result.
Professor, you've spoken about the importance of data analytics in health and, of course, extensively on its impact on agriculture. But two very important issues that are on the front burner in the country currently is the issue of insecurity and the issue of corruption. Now, how can data analytics be used to curb corruption and fight insecurity? How come, if data analysis and AI are as powerful as you have portrayed them to be, how hasn't it come to bear in fighting corruption and the issue of insecurity in Nigeria?
Thank you very much. I think we should have looked at it like this. Insecurity can be enhanced with AI. What's the other one that you mentioned? Insecurity, there's no doubt it can be done. I'm still coming down to that. Then the other one, what's the other one that you mentioned? I'm so sorry. The other area that you mentioned insecurity and corruption. You see, the problem in Nigeria is not about that law that will stop you from indulging in corruption, but rather is the will. We have laws, but we don't have system. And for us to be able to harness this system, what we are saying is that this data analytics must be taken serious. Now, coming down to your question, that we said we have looked at the power and have we imbibed the spirit of using it? That's another question I'm putting to you. Have we accepted it? Are we ready? Are we ready to use it? As I'm telling you, corruption, when you have models that are flying all about, that can detect a slight entrance of data of corruption, and you have some people there monitoring it, immediately it is signaled. They know that there is something that is wrong in the system as of that present time. So if action will be taken, but are we ready to do that? So if you harness our system very well, with this data analytics, you discover that issue of fraud, it will be minimal. It cannot be eradicated. Even in China, they are not eradicated, but it will be very minimal. It will be very minimal. Coming down to what? Security. It's not now that you say, okay, they have report intelligence. There are some of our report intelligence that they will even throw it even a month. And when the thing happens, you'll be hearing people saying, you'll be hearing people saying, but somebody told us that this thing is going to happen. We saw a letter that brief upon brief before them, and yet it will happen. And the question about, are we ready? That's why I told you earlier on that everybody needs data analytics. Everybody we need that spirit. We need to embody it holistically, not partial, for us to be able to get it done. If you imbibe that spirit, you see all this insecurity. When we have drone, when we have the rest, and we have AI flying about, they will be checkmated. They will be checkmated completely and minimized.
All right, Prof, I want to take you on a particular rhetorical question that you kept repeating. Are we ready? What do you really mean by are we ready? Who are the we? And whose responsibility is it to ensure that, like you rightly mentioned, everybody picks up on this move of data analytics? So who are the we? Whose responsibility is it? And what's the way forward?
You and I, everybody. You and I and everybody need to participate. You need to contribute. It starts from you. You are giving us the enlightenment. Anybody that watched this now will know where I'm coming from. You and I are the major participants. Everybody in Nigeria are it's one of those things you are doing now. So it's the image of Nigeria, it's the image of the situation we have in Nigeria now that we are talking about. Anybody that come across this video would definitely be enlightened. And this one of the true story. Gone are the days that you say, okay, data is nothing. You get data and you just throw it away. Most of the Nigerians are on social media 24/7. What do you think they are looking for? Even I thought some of them are doing it and they don't even know that this is what they are doing it. If they enhance it very well, this thing will bring them fortune. Then that enlightenment need to go around, starting from you people. There are you people that I'm saying here, is journalists. You are the image maker. You are the one that can let us have the information at the right time. If you have not interviewed me, you will not know. And this is what we are saying. Anybody, all that needs to be on deck to achieve. But what I'm telling you, an average Nigerian is not a novice to all these things we are saying. But we need to put our people together. Let them know the importance of using this data analytics and what have you. That if you really imbibe the spirit and the discipline, all the policy will work. If you have the right data analytic procedure, you get the right information, you get the right decision, you make the right decision, and everything will go on smoothly. It's not only everything, in Nigeria we believe in what? We believe in prayers. You cannot just fold your hands when they say, okay, this is the future. The future is here. And you are keeping your hands that you are praying, and you are not what? You are not sensitizing people to imbibe this spirit. You have not done what is necessary. It's not only part of the government. Government just have major, because most of our actions and inactions will tend to still come at their doorsteps. We discover that at their own level too, if they don't do anything, there will be chaos. There will be chaos. Not that we don't want to put it on their doorstep, but rather we need all to be involved.
Professor, I hear you, and you say data analysis and analytics starts with individuals, you and I. Now let's be a little bit practical. Now you're a professor, of course, you teach people on this particular subject issue. I mean, I have a business. Well, most businesses are on social media, maybe on Facebook, YouTube, whatever social media platform. And with those platforms come data analytics prompts, right? Now, how would you advise that I, as the business owner, how can I use or translate the analytics, of my business to useful information? Because when you click on data analytics, what you see usually are graphs and numbers, and quite frankly, most people don't understand that. So if I'm a business owner and I click on data analytics on my profile, my business profile, how can I convert those numbers and graphs to useful information that I can use on my business to move it forward?
Thank you very much. It's not all knowledge. Nobody is an island of knowledge. And I want to believe that you have various segments in any organization. As a business owner, even at all you don't have more than one, you are the only one running your business, you are the only one that is doing the PRO, you are the only one that is doing the executive job. But you know very well that you can always seek knowledge. You can seek for the interpretation, and that's why somebody like us, we are available. And not only us, we have trained so many students, we have trained people around that can take it that if you see something like this is what it means. So you cannot just sit back. That's what I'm telling you. I'm still telling you that, okay, you want to imbibe the spirit. Of course, every day we learn. As a professor, I will be learning till I die. Nobody is an island of knowledge. You learn every day. So what you don't know, as an individual, you have a business and you don't want to invite the spirit of, you want to inculcate full data analytics. And the best thing for you to do, if you can just employ an expert and he will teach you. Okay, if you see, and you know what starts from data, how you keep record. If you invite the spirit, you discover that you can learn from the pattern of your business, from the history, the past record that you have in your business. And it will do it that if you don't know where you are coming from, you cannot know where you are going. That is joy. You cannot know where you are going to, because your past record is the key to project for the future. I made this mistake 10 years ago. From this data I have, what can I do? This data analytics, it has stages. You have what we call prescriptive, diagnostic, then we have predictive, and possibly we have prescriptive analytic process. You see, this descriptive analytic process is a lesson. We don't want to talk about the status now we have. For instance, we take Nigerian economy and we are interested in the inflation and what have you. And now we look at the description that is descriptive analytics. That we look at what is the current situation of inflation in Nigeria. What is the current situation of inflation in Nigeria? It's on the high side. Then you now move down to diagnostic analytic. What can be done? If this thing is like this, you can see at a point in time when Nigeria government run into problem as regard to inflation and the consumer price index. You see what they do, policy upon policy, to crack down that trajectory movement of inflation. It will work if you have the right data. That's what I'm telling you. What could be done? That is diagnostic. You diagnose it and see what can be done to stop it. All these things, you learn it. You cannot stay on your own and say you want to learn. And you can read. Books can be a teacher. Okay, I don't want to, I'm too big or I don't have money to, but you can get free books that talk about these things. They are there. Then what can be done? Then why predictive analytics will tell you what will happen in the future. Having known this, the problem, what will happen in the future, what can I do? What will happen in the future? That is predictive. You try to look at, okay, it's like this. Then predictive, what can I do to make that thing happen if it is positive? What can I do to make that thing not happen if it's what? If it's negative? Hope you are with me. So all these things, you learn it. It's either you employ a professional, or if you think that, okay, you are too big for the class, we have many free online courses that you can do that will just take you within 1 week, 2 weeks, some 2 months, depending on what intensity of what you want to grab. You can see, or you are too big for class. I'm not this. I can't go to class. Get books, read. If you read most of these things, you discover that you can practicalize it and you get to where you are going. So you learn what you don't know. That's what I'm saying. You embrace it. Embrace means you do all things to be part of it. You don't want to be left behind. So I've told you in Nigeria, we are not what? Novice when it comes to that.
Okay, Prof. You're a data analyst, and as such, you're a scientist. And when a scientist carries out an analysis or some sort of research, in your case, an analysis, you come up with an inference. And it's expected that at some point that inference or recommendation, whatever it is disseminated to policymakers and other stakeholders. Now, there seems to be a divide between the analysis and the dissemination. How has the experience been for you in coming up with inferences, just like you mentioned, how to make things better when data says a particular thing, there has to be some recommendations. How has it been for you in disseminating, your outcome or your results to policymakers and other stakeholders in your field of experience?
Thank you very much. We discovered that now most of us in academia, most of our dissemination, we tend to limit it to journals and publications, which is not all the way reasonable. It's only few Nigerians that reads. There's only people that go to journal. You discover that within that circle, by the time you take academia, the institutes, researchers that might possibly come across the paper and what have you, you may not have that wide scope of what dissemination. But one thing is that I know that is missing in Nigeria that we are praying for is state like Lagos and I know a little bit of Abuja. They have that sense of connection, collaboration between our institutions, say university, polytechnic, and possibly the research institute, with the either public sector or even the government. If there is this linkage, the linkage has not been that cordial. It has not been that cordial. If we look at it, I know when Nigerian system in the olden days, as I was told by my father and some of my mentors, will say, okay, when you finish your degree, at that time you discover that the investors, there are company owners that will be waiting for you to just catch you young and fresh, and you work in that, and you discover that will make more. Is a direct way of linking what you know to the practical sense. Now, dissemination in Nigeria, there is this still gap that we are hoping that is changing. Like at least a place like Lagos, I know, with all these Western institution, Western state institution in Nigeria, especially UI, you see them with all these pharmaceutical companies or what have you. There is this direct linkage. But aside from all this vibe, and maybe possibly by the time you take Port Harcourt, you see that there's this tendency of the fact that the state will not be doing bad too. And it's the fact that activities are going on in this special state that we have mentioned, and there are a lot of companies that is going on. But then does not mean that even other states cannot. We have some state that most of these things they need data analytics. You look at somebody that is working, for instance, as a mail poster, and yet we are still using this manual of carrying envelope from one place to the other, trying to locate, and yet most of these things, if they are not properly indulged, completely indulged in what we say is what data analytics, supposed to make the work easier. Dissemination should be should be very easy to come by. And coming down to that, we discover that most of our dissemination in academia is through publication. And maybe possibly you are looking to have an intent to a research where you'll be paying stipends, having given your research work. It's another very good one. But I still think that there still need to be that collaboration between the government, the institution of our learning, to enhance what we produce, especially in that area of data analytics. And you see, all those things, they don't drop from heaven. You see, by the time you study in the area of mathematical sciences, these are the areas, mathematical science, where you have the computing. Some people are trying to separate it from mathematical sciences, but most of the knowledge that we have around, we discover that even computing emancipated from mathematical sciences. You see, even I thought they give them one that you see, by the time we manage all these things very well, and there is that linkage between the private sector and the government direct to the schools, it will be very easy. It will be very easy to help us, and to go a very long way to improve that dissemination of knowledge. So with my experience so far, I think we still need more need to be done in that direction, especially in some of our states that are not as vibrant as those ones that I mentioned earlier.
All right, Professor. You did mention a lot about people getting information, going for courses to better understand data and analytics, but you would agree with me that Nigeria is still, battling with infrastructural deficits. For example, on electricity, data availability and affordability. You would agree that this is tugging on the progress of data analytics, AI, machine learning, as you rightly said. What are your thoughts on this? How can people surmount all these, setbacks to pursue data analytics and use it effectively and not just about people, governments and organizations too, because not every organization is multinational, so we're still struggling with these things I mentioned. So how can they surmount these challenges to better make use of their data for better decision making?
Of course, all those challenges we have mentioned are key. We need to find solutions to them before we can have that complete a nation with a very good power dissemination. We discover that we reduce more. Most of these things we are saying we need reliable energy. But it's surprising in Nigeria, with the amount of money that we have sunk in energy, and yet we are still where we are. We are still where we are. But if, on the other hand, as we have said, that it's not completely at the doorstep of the government, so they need to improve the electricity. There's no doubt about that. If possible, our grid should not be overloaded. If possible, a state like KB that have lithium, that just discover lithium, there should be partnership with the federal government to see what they can do in that regard, to bring about solar. We have lithium in KB in essence, and the government is aware of it. The current government is working on it. And I believe they want to come out with some. We believe that if something like this is earnest, if not Northern Nigeria, I believe we can power the whole nation. Just like the way Kanji is using idle electricity is powering the whole nation. KB can power the solar, can power at least, if not Northern Nigeria, to be completely Nigeria. But it depends on the attitude of the government. If they are ready to invest on it, it's a very huge investment. You see, you can have a very big solar farm that will be capable of carrying the whole country. If you are so determined, it's possible to have that. That is on electricity. It can be honest. As for infrastructure now, borrowing to complete infrastructure is not a crime, as I know, and which I believe, if not total, at least the government of the day are trying to set up some infrastructure that I believe by the time it is completed, it will go a long way to solve some of these problems. You see, electricity is key. Electricity is key. There's no doubt about it. Once that challenge has not been overcome completely, we still continue to be where we are. And I believe we have everything at our doorstep. We just need to move from where we are and adopt the right policy with the right data analytics says.
So, Professor, we really have to let you go, but I have this last question for you. How would you advise someone who is a new intake, maybe into statistics, data analysis, on any of these related courses? What would be your advice to him or her, given prevailing challenges and threatening circumstances and poor infrastructure? What would be your advice to a younger person who is trying to carve a career, from data analysis in Nigeria?
There is this saying that said, okay, if you say education is expensive, then try ignorance. You see, that's why you see the citizens of Nigeria, they are great. With all these challenges, you see us, we weather storms to go to school. We weather storms to arrange ourselves as regard to certificate and what have you. But you discover that most of these things are expensive. If you are not determined to get it done, might be very difficult to achieve. That determination must be there. It's not easy, but thank God for this government. I've been giving essence. Most of these things have been relating to Nigerian sense. Look at NEFOM, for instance. People might not appreciate it now, but some of us, especially that have daughters, sons in the university now, we know that paying school fees, except you don't register for it, paying school fees is out of it. The program should be given breathing space to breathe. That program is very, very essential. You are coming to statistics, for instance, which is the beginning. That is the basis of what? To what we have been saying. Data is statistics, statistics is data. And this is where you experience this data analytic. And you are telling me that to pay your school fees is a problem now. Though we have many challenges. Paying your school fees as regard to that will not be a problem. Except you choose not to follow government directive, that you don't want to go to government, you prefer to go to private where they ask you to pay. As for the federal institution, there is this net form. I don't know whether this net form is also channeled towards private institution. That one is out of it. It's one of the ways we can that problem has been solved. So we should take the advantage of such program of government to leverage on our inability to survive in this very bad economy. And you know, when I say bad economy, you and I know what it is. And I'm still saying, by the time we harness our data properly, it will make our system strong. By the time, that is after we have made up our mind that, okay, we are so determined that we want to move from where we are, and we are going to what? We are going to want to go to the next level. Then we harness all this our data and we determine that, okay, whatever this our data is saying, we listen to it and we follow the decision, the policy that is made out of this one, out of this interpretation of the data and what have you. So you see, if you leverage on such a program of government, it will be easy to run such program. And I've told you, it's a personal thing. There are a lot of free government program, aside from that one, that can even equally help you to survive the weather storm, on how to take on the program by yourself. It's a very good thing, and you should be prepared that, okay, we are not only learning with paper, it must be with what? It must be with technology. And that's why that money the fund is very, very, is key. When you get it, you know what you use your money for.
All right. Thank you, Babayemi Afolabi Wasiu, for your insights. Professor of Time Series Econometrics, KB State University of Science and Technology, Alerio, KB State. Thank you so much for your time.
Signature TV. News in your pocket.